Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the ASL. We're moving into our final match here in the round of 8. Snow versus Flash is about to begin. We are rounding out this awesome round of 8 with a PVT. The last Protoss player in the tournament could be getting eliminated tonight if Flash is on form. Xun, how you doing, man?
Doing pretty good, Sam. Got a lot more sleep than I did the night before. Feeling a little bit fresher and super excited to get into this series, man. Oh my gosh. Like historically speaking, Flash is, kind of obliterated Snow. But Snow has improved a lot, and Flash isn't necessarily playing at the complete peak of his career past, but he's still playing so damn good. So I think if you're a smart man, you're probably thinking this is going to be a Flash victory. But either way, it's going to be a banger of a series. I'm kind of predicting like a 3-1 victory or something like that for Flash. If Snow does beat Flash somehow, I think Snow's a favorite for the tournament unless Soma beats Later. I think if Snow beats Flash here, Snow's either going to be a silver medalist, and if Later beats Soma, then Snow might be winning the whole thing.
That would be a hilarious turn of events. If Later managed to take down Soma, that might be the biggest upset of the entire tournament.
Right.
He's come out of left field. He's come out of nowhere and blasted his way to the top, making his way all the way into that semifinals. And could clear the way potentially for Snow to have a straight forward route to the victory, to the championship here. If he just beats Soma, it will be a straight Terran lineup all the way to the end. But we're getting ahead of ourselves, guys. He's still got to get through Flash here today, and does it take a statistical genius to tell you that Flash is definitely advantaged in terms of their previous performance?
Yeah, it's pretty one-sided, guys. Like in terms of total games played in a competitive setting, it's 3 wins for Snow, 14 wins for Flash, and in terms of series, it's 1 win for Snow, 8 wins for Flash. Pretty crazy. It's rare that you see that much of a one-sided history between players. In most recent times, Flash 2-0'd Snow in the ASL Season 10 when Flash was playing random. A little bit before that, he 4-0'd Flash in the ASL. Sorry, Flash 4-0'd Snow in the ASL Season 8. So a little bit of a grudge match. This is kind of potentially a curse-breaking game for Snow if he can somehow beat Flash. He's going to be feeling on top of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to be cheering here for Snow. Unfortunately, yesterday, Jaedong was taken out. Guys, raise your dongers. Unfortunately, we're not going to be getting a Jaedong versus Flash semifinals. What a sad day, guys. But
yeah.
I'm hoping that Snow can now take revenge on Flash. I think that would be the optimal outcome. We can avoid a TVT best of 7 in the semifinals. And, we'll see what happens there if Snow gets into the finals once again. Maybe he can get revenge on Soma in this tournament as well. Who knows?
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, his PVC has improved a lot, and now players have had a lot more time to kind of study the cross-teching style of Soma. They'll be a little bit better prepared for dealing with that. Still possible Snow could go through to win the whole thing, even if Later doesn't beat Soma. But like we were saying, can't get too ahead of ourselves. Got to focus on this Flash versus Snow game. Going to be really tough for Snow. He's very dependent on that Shuttle and Reaver control to kind of carry him in this matchup, and he is so damn good at it. But the reality is that Flash is the ultimate defensive weapon. Like, the thing that Flash does best is he not only macros well and optimizes his builds perfectly, he's just so good defensive in his setup. Like, it's so tough to get a lot of damage done to someone like Flash. Even when he was going CC first pretty much exclusively, he would still find ways of winning games where players were putting a lot of pressure onto him. And so, yeah, this is going to be a tough showdown for Snow, because it's not just about your overall skill as a gamer, it's also about your player style.
Yeah, and certainly the styles do clash. We saw it many seasons back. Flash's last season of the ASL before he went to the military. He absolutely clapped down Snow 4-0 in the finals. It was honestly one of the saddest ASLs I've ever watched because I'm a big fan of Snow. I love Flash as well, but I really wanted to see a good match between them, and it did not look like a proper match. It looked like Flash just taking him to school. There has been a long history of evolution, though, of Snow while Flash has been away, and now that he's back, he may not be in absolute peak form. We'll have to see if history repeats itself or if Snow can get that vengeance.
Well, Flash is looking pretty damn strong, despite Jaedong being able to destroy his CC first into mech style. Maybe he can still have some great performance in this tournament, and honestly, still a lot of people will be considering Flash the clear favorite going forward. He does look pretty monstrous, but I think there's something to be said for the fact that as a player, especially of Snow's fortitude, like, you can sometimes be a victim of success, right? Like, he's used to kind of trolling Terran players and running rings around them with the Shuttle and Reaver and kind of just dismantling them, clapping his feet together in glee. But that means that he hasn't actually had enough adversity to find ways of coping with not being the guy that's always in the driver's seat in this matchup. So I think sometimes what could happen is in the past when he's faced off against Flash, when he realizes, oh, I actually can't clown on this guy like I clown on the other Terrans, that might, make him take a big psychological hit. And I think that is a factor here with Snow. Like, he's usually so good in this matchup that as soon as he does face a wall that can stand against him, he doesn't really seem to know what to do with himself.
Xun, a lot of times we talk about these Protoss players kind of like boxers, and well, Snow is more like a Floyd Mayweather, where best we consider something like a Mike Tyson. He comes out and just rams directly into his opponent, tries to smash their defense and just break them with heavy punches. Snow is always on the outside, just poking, utilizing his Reaver control, utilizing spacing to make sure that he can get as much damage as possible, while just defending everything back at home and growing into an absolute monster to where it's just impossible for the Terran player to win. And it seems like Flash kind of has the solution for that. He's just super good at deciding exactly when to push and how to negate that damage, moving in a perfect formation where he never really allows that Reaver damage to occur and kind of breaks down. It is totally a clash of styles, man. It's exactly what you were saying. The Floyd Mayweather style of staying on the outside, Flash, he just has the perfect defense, and so those light punches are just never going to hurt him.
Yeah, and if you had like a player card that showed you like all the stats of each player in terms of their ability, like say for Snow, you in the micro portion of the stat card, it would be way up there. But for Flash, like, he's got a high stat range in pretty much every area. He's a very well-rounded player. In a way, it's kind of like the old Spitfire planes in the World Wars, the British Spitfire plane. Like, they were such well-rounded planes that they could do everything very well. So all you needed to do is find out what your opponent's weakness was. So, like, say if their plane wasn't as good as maneuverability or going into high altitude or whatever, like, you would use your opponent's weakness against them because you do everything well. And that's kind of like Flash. He's going to figure out what your weakness is and lean on you.
Yeah, absolutely. He has no fear when it comes to losing games either. He plays with such fearlessness, but we've seen that a bit from Snow this season as well. He's been playing, honestly, mentally. I think his mental game is fantastic. Going Nexus first after a loss in a best of 3. I can't remember who his opponent was in that series, but it really impressed me to where Snow is just playing a little differently in regards to like how he's thinking about the game and how he's conceptualizing a series. So I'm really looking forward to what he's got here and how he performs under pressure today.
Yeah, and one thing we've also got to consider is this is one of the most Terran favorited map pools we've had in a very long time. That's going to help out Flash a lot. There are some maps which are more or less dead even down the middle. Snow is going to have to make sure he wins on those. There's going to be maps like Attitude, which are just really Terran favorited. And yeah, I mean, maybe it's possible Snow will be able to take games off of Flash on maps like that. But on every map where it's close to dead even, Snow is going to have to win those, I think, to win the series. Because there's going to be some maps I think Flash will just exploit way too much for Snow to get a victory on.
Yeah, he might have to, utilize a strategy that's a little bit off his normal playbook, right? Maybe going for a quicker carrier play or something like that. Maps like Jane Doe do kind of favor carrier plays. I've seen Snow win in with different methods than that, but honestly, Snow's carrier play not quite as good as some of the other players. He's not quite as good at opening Arbiter either, but I have seen him do some sneaky DT shenanigans, throwing those in every once in a while. I'm not sure if that's going to work against Flash though. It's not like he's going to have to cut defenses to try and get an edge over Snow. He's more likely going to be just super, super defensive, make sure he covers every single base and moves smoothly into a strong position.
Yeah, this is kind of the problem when you get deep into the ASL. You have to mix up your build order range at least a little bit, unless you're just so dominant over your opponent it doesn't even matter, which is actually quite a rarity. I think it's lucky for Snow that this is a best of 5, not a best of 7. I feel like in a best of 7, Snow's win percentage actually drops quite significantly, because he would be more reliant on like trying to throw a wrench into the usual strategies that he goes for and tries stuff that he's not as comfortable with against Flash. And yeah, I definitely feel like Flash would be getting the better of him in that situation. We probably will be seeing a few Nexus first plays here from Snow. Maybe he'll mix in a DT play or go Arbiter one game. But these are the kind of plays that I feel like Flash is kind of hoping for. I don't think when Snow mixes it up, he's going to have a good time. He kind of still needs to, because otherwise Flash is just going to metagame him into oblivion. So yeah, kind of hard for Snow to navigate this one. I hope he's like really prepared some smart adjustments to his usual style to factor in just how like well Flash is able to adapt to any person's individual style.
Snow going to be getting ready in the booth now, prepping those strategies. I'm looking forward to seeing what the maps are going to be here, who's chosen what. I was pretty surprised about Jaedong's picks yesterday, but we ended up seeing every single map. I hope we get to the 5th game here as well. I think that would be the greatest outcome for all the fans. Flash, his record speaks for itself, man. It's hard to bet against Flash in this match right now, but I'm really hoping that Snow can pull off a great upset here.
So Snow's picked Match Point to start things off. Then we've got Attitude, which is Flash's pick. Then Jane Doe, back to Snow's pick. Polestar, Flash's pick, and finally Knockout. And those map picks don't surprise me at all. I think the maps that Snow has picked are actually pretty damn good for Protoss comparatively to maps like Attitude, which Flash picked as his map 2. Attitude's a really high win rate for Terran, so it's no surprise that Flash has picked that early to get maybe a bit of a tempo lead going forward in this series. And if it does go to match 5, that's good for Snow, because Knockout's pretty balanced for PVT as well, although getting there is going to be difficult. Flash picked Polestar as map number 4, which is another great Terran map.
Yeah, he's here, locked in. I think I see Picari Sweat on the table. Not really sure. Holding that in his mouth as per usual. Getting that nose breathing going. Yeah, there we go. Old habits die hard, man.
Yeah.
Still doing it here after, what is it, 20 years now? Kind of crazy that he's still locked in just the exact same way. And it's awesome to have him back in this tournament. Can he go the distance and take down Snow? This is his biggest challenge so far. Let's see it.
I'm hoping that Snow puts on a good show no matter what. Jaedong kind of managed to do that against Light. Let's see what Snow can do now against Flash going into this. The ASL Season 21, Round of 8, Match number 4. Snow versus Flash. And the first map on the agenda, guys. Gonna be match point. Let's get this show on the road, Sam.
All right, top right, we have Snow. Here on screen. Down in bottom left, Flash. The legend himself is back after so many years of hiatus. After injuries and the military tore him away from us, the fans. He is back in action for potentially the final time. It might be the last time we see him. Every one of these series might be the last time we see Flash in ASL. It's kind of crazy to think about it, but Snow is looking to end his run here, man. He would welcome the opportunity to shut him down and get his vengeance.
Right. Now, match point's been pretty good for Protoss against Terran in the ASL. In the past, it's been pretty even, but this is a very good map for Snow to kind of set the pace right off the bat. Looks like Flash sending out an SCV way out here towards the mineral, only to build a barracks pretty early on as well, by the way. Already Flash kind of getting a little bit ambitious right from the start.
I think he's predicting CC or a Nexus first here.
Yeah, maybe.
Wanting to put on a little pressure to that. This could kind of go bad for Flash if Snow wants to pressure with a Zealot. Having the barracks that far out on the map could actually hurt him a little bit. Let's see if Snow actually builds that. It seems like it's lining up for a Zealot here in a moment. Go ahead, Xun.
Oh, this is 11 gas as well from Flash, so he's really optimizing a faster factory timing, so that definitely does lean into the idea that he wants to be able to punish something like a Nexus first. He's going to have that Vulture out a good like 5 or 6 seconds ahead of schedule than usual, and that would easily punish something like a Nexus first. Your Dragoons will just be popping out as the Vulture's in the natural killing probes, so yeah, but this time around, nothing crazy from Snow. He's playing a very mid-range opener here, and Flash will not get a lot of damage done initially with this first Zealot popping out. He's probably going to cut Marine production ever so slightly to not put on too much pressure. He's going to have to go up to probably at least 3 Marines no matter what, though.
Saw a little bit of a emotional response there from Flash. Yeah, shaking his head a little bit. In the booth. This is not the plan that he had for this map. He was hoping for that Nexus first, and instead he's going to go for slightly suboptimal follow-up here. Having to throw down the bunker immediately. A little bit surprised to see him do that. He should have a Vulture out very quickly in order to prevent this from doing any damage. Try to get the CC out a little bit faster, but he certainly knows better what he wants to do here. Almost loses the SCV. Manages to slip by Snow's Zealot there. And Snow, I feel like he's already got a little bit of momentum on his side. This is a great start from him.
Yeah, no, this works out fantastically for Snow. Like, Flash has taken a tiny hit to his economy going for this opening, and it's not going to pay off. Like, there's nothing he can really do but go defensive from this point onwards. And yeah, the CC timing relative to the Nexus is actually pretty respectable for Snow. All things considered, one of the best case scenarios for our Protoss gamer going forward, and it is going to be a very crisply timed robo at the 4-minute mark. No surprise there. We kind of expect Snow to do this just about every game, trying to rush into Robotech. He might still go for Observers first, of course, but the main goal for Snow, utilizing his dominance, having the best Reaver and Shuttle micro in the world.
This can be a hard map to defend drops into the main. There's a lot of space here. to try and defend. And you've got that bit of high ground in between the main and natural, which you can cycle in between those two positions pretty quickly. We'll see if Flash can defend that properly. If he's got the turret positioning all laid out beforehand like we expect he would, or will Snow find a tiny little gap like we see with so many Terran players? Like sometimes you look at a Terran space and there's no way you're getting in there, and then Snow finds like the tiniest little hole and starts to kill a turret, breaks open the base, and suddenly he's dealing massive amounts of damage. Historically has not been able to do that to Flash, but we'll see if Flash can continue to play at that high of a level here after coming back from such a long hiatus.
Yeah, and it is going to be the observatory just before the support bay. You really do need to get an observer inside the Terran's main base before they have time to set up something like a turret ring. You can see Snow, he's actually putting his Dragoons into anti-drop positions way ahead of schedule. Like usually the dropship won't be here until like, you know, 6 minutes 10, 6 minutes 20 or something like that. And he's just going to keep these Dragoons back for quite a long period of time, just in case this was a fast starport play from Flash going for a vulture drop or what have you. And it is not going to be anything too fancy like that from Flash. He looks like he's just going to be macroing up for the time being.
This is interesting. He drops a probe, sends it all the way to top left. Just going to go in for a bit of a scout with the shuttle.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever seen a Protoss player send a probe out like that, but
what's he doing?
The scout with the shuttle is not very common either. Is he just hiding this for a bit of a later scout, or is he actually going to build something back there? I highly doubt he's got a proxy planned at this point in the game. It seems too late.
Yeah, I don't think it's for proxy. I think it's just got to be for scouting. At least that's what I'm assuming. It is a little bit strange that he's done this. Maybe he's wants to keep tabs on Flash getting greedy and taking a very quick third base. It is kind of in the meta right now to go for a 9-minute third base as Terran, but you know, theoretically you could take that as early as like 8 minutes or something, and with a mine triple expand way quicker as well. You know, it's just not mine triple expand, but could still be a very clean third base timing from Flash. Really great from Snow picking off that first vulture. And the third base here from Snow, a little bit delayed because of how much he's poured into his early game tech and gateway count. He's doing a bit of a cookie cutter style, anticipating some level of aggression out of Flash. Maybe like a 5 tank push.
Well, he's going to come up here and poke the front. Bunker's a little bit exposed. A lot of the anti-air defense is in the back of the base, and there's no siege mode right now. Gonna dive right on top of this stuff. It's one scarab. Can it actually connect? I think it will. Does connect there on both of the back tanks. Those tanks are super low. If he's able to target that, could get a couple of kills there. Not able to get that, and in fact most of this stuff gets cleaned up pretty handily. Gonna fly around through in towards the main base, which is mostly open, in fact. And what timing here on this shuttle speed, finishing up just in the nick of time. Can he actually get one hit? Oh my gosh, that one SCV blocking the Scarab barely long enough to avoid that damage.
Yeah, these Scarabs are definitely not going to connect. Really great defensive play from Flash, trying to utilize Goliaths rather than turrets to begin with against this harassment. Nice pick up there from Snow, killing a tank. That's the kind of damage he's looking for. Hasn't really done anything to the economy here of Flash, but if he can snipe a few tanks, it's going to be putting him into a more comfortable position, and he could go for a very early 4th base if he wants to, knowing that he's would have slowed down the advance of Flash quite significantly. But because of this Goliath tank style, it does kind of threaten that Flash wants to come out onto the map earlier. He's going to build a few turrets before he thinks about moving out. But he's got like one good push timing in him until he would have to sit back and just macro up. And it looks like Flash is gearing up to do that very soon.
I can't remember the last time I saw Snow fly into a Terran, undefended Terran main and get no SCV kills like that. But somehow the SCV on the gas blocked that Scarab long enough. But hold on a second. Diving into the natural now all of a sudden. There's nothing here to defend.
Ooh.
Everything is on the attack. Big hit there on the SCV line as it tries to abandon this main. I think a very particularly placed armory there in the natural. Do you see the placement on the armory there, Xun?
Yeah.
It's actually forcing the SCVs to go a bit around that armory in order to, move between the bases. So a little bit of optimization there from Flash to make his defense that much stronger. Oh, can he actually keep this shuttle alive? It barely survives. Another drop here is kind of crazy. I think he may end up losing that. No, Reaver still dealing damage. Looks like it finally does go down. Huge final hit, though, with that Reaver. And actually, these Dragoons are winning the fight.
Wow.
No siege up here from Flash, and Snow clears the majority of this army.
I'm getting a little bit of chills saying these guys were microing 2 different battles at 2 different locations simultaneously. Flash starting to clean up these Dragoons now, but the trade went pretty damn good for Snow to kick things off, although there's not a lot of Shuttle and Reavers left in the arsenal of Snow to slow down the advance of Flash. So Flash may be feeling a little bit emboldened that he can come down here and still put on a lot of pressure to the natural of Snow. This Reaver's just slugging it out for the time being until a shuttle can be made.
Yeah, there's no Zealot speed. Zealot speed is a little bit behind. Snow gets on top of the first tank. There's only one more tank behind this. Getting dragged this mine. There's the Zealot speed. He pulls the mine. Huge connection. Tons of SCVs go down there. All the ones repairing on that tank, that final tank that he needed to keep this push going. Now all Flash can do, reduce to just running around with these vultures, and this is an amazing first game from Snow. He is absolutely in a great position now, and Flash is desperate to do something, but he's so low on tanks. I don't know if it's a good idea to keep pushing.
No, I don't think it's a great idea either, but, it's Flash, so he thinks he can still find a way of making this work. I'm not sure that's the wisest of decisions. He's kind of banking on Snow, stepping on a few rakes, making a few blunders here, but yeah, I'm not sure this is the right plan of action from Flash, and there's a 4th base coming up here from Snow as well. So the longer this goes on, the worse it's going to be for Flash. Maybe there's still a timing if he can rotate to this high ground peninsula, get the high ground advantage, and start to lay siege to this mineral-only location of Snow. Reaver's getting a little bit low, but look at how many Dragoons there are. There's no way that Flash can maintain this position. He is getting overwhelmed. He taps out. GG is called, and Snow with a quick tempo victory, winning Game 1 against Flash.
Oh my goodness. There we go. Snow takes down Flash with some style there. You love to see it. Getting a little bit of a early lead here in this series. Flash, we saw him in game, throwing his head to the side. His game plan did not pay off, and he looks a little bit miffed right now. He is still the god gamer. But when things don't go to plan, man, it definitely throws off even the best players in the world. I'm sure Flash can throw it off, though, and bring some excellent games here. This is far from over, guys. We're going to go to a commercial break. When we get back, game number 2 between Snow and Flash. All right, guys, we're off to a great start here, round of 8. A lot of people, I'm sure, were afraid that this might be a complete blowout just based on previous record between these two players. Flash has been historically super, super dominant, winning most of the games and almost every single series between the two. Snow's only won a single series that these guys have played in previous seasons. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that we at least have a win on the board here for Snow. He's not out of the woods yet, though. Flash, the 4-star general, is back, and he is scary, man. He just has an aura to him as well, right? Like,
Right.
I really do believe that pro players, when they're sitting up there on the stage, kind of across from Flash, they honestly play worse in general, just
Yeah.
because of the pressure of the moment of being there next to the champion, to the to the legend himself.
I think a lot of pro gamers have actually admitted that fact already in the past. That when there is the aura factor, it could be Jaedong as well. You know, anyone that was a prominent figure back in the day, they do kind of put the fear of God into the other gamers. They have a lot of reverence for these guys. They know how good they are at the game. It's a little bit scary when you're up against someone that you know what they're capable of, and you respect them so highly. Can kind of get into your head a bit. I'm sure a lot of you guys in the past, you played games against friends that were, a few hundred MMR above you, and it's like you expect to lose the game, so you kind of like almost go into the games with a defeatist attitude, like, I'm playing to survive, I'm eventually probably going to lose, and that can be a self-fulfilling prophecy when you don't have a winner's mindset and you kind of anticipate getting destroyed. That can actually secure your demise even faster and more assuredly.
Yeah, mental state is so important, but Snow is looking locked in. He's made so many great advancements over the years. His main problem really has been his PVZ, but he's made massive jumps, leaps and bounds in that matchup. Has become an absolute boss toss, top Protoss player in the world right now, and we haven't had a Protoss champion for a long time. I'd hate to see the final Protoss player in ASL this season go down here. Let's see if he can make it work versus Flash, if he can get that vengeance that he certainly is hoping for. He's just been desiring for a long time.
Well, with that game number 1 victory, I think it's very much more likely now that we'll see a game 5 between these two gamers. Match point was Snow's pick. Next pick, going to be really tough for Snow. Attitude, very Terran favorited map. So I kind of can see this series going back and forth, like Flash wins Attitude, Snow wins Jando, Flash wins Polestar, and then we've got the decider on Knockout. Very much can see that in the cards right now, Saiyan. And honestly, that would be a real treat to see these guys go blow for blow and then have a decider map on Knockout to see which one of these guys gets knocked out of the tournament. I think that would be an absolute feast of StarCraft action to devour as both casters and viewers alike.
Absolutely, man. Flash, if you guys haven't been following the drama that's been happening with him for the past few years, why he's been away, you might be a little bit out of the loop. He had multiple scandals. He's had surgeries on his arms. He's back, though, and we're ready to start game number 2.
All right, guys, hope you're ready for the ASL Season 21, Round of 8, Match number 4. Already a win on the board here for our Protoss. Let's see how the rest of the series will be developing. Snow versus Flash, and the map is going to be Attitude.
Spawning in the bottom right, we have Snow. And up here, in the top right, Flash. Was afraid we would never see this guy on stage again after he left for the military. Had a bunch of wrist issues. Had to have multiple surgeries. Had a full-on crypto scandal. And if you want to learn more about that, by the way, come check out Saiyan KCM, my channel on YouTube, where Xun and I do a lot of other casts, including the KCM. And don't forget to support on Patreon as well. I got to mention it here before I forget. Saiyan Xun duo casts on Patreon. Come check it out. At least sign up for free. You can get updates about what we're doing and other casts that we're performing on as well, like BSL or other places, 2v2s and stuff like that.
Yeah, thanks so much to everyone that does support us. It means the world to us. It's a real honor and privilege to be able to bring you guys live coverage of the ASL. Wouldn't have had it any other way, being besides saying in the caster booth. And yeah, let's get into it. I'm wondering, is Flash ever going to get greedy in this matchup? Are we going to be seeing some bunker expands or CC first play? I imagine CC first will be out of the cards for a little bit until he starts to either identify Snow getting greedy himself. Oh, look at this from Snow. It's a Nexus first. And this time around, Flash is not optimized to punish this without going for an early gas or a forward barracks. But it is close positions, so, you know, there's still a chance of, like, pulling the boys, the SCVs, and putting a lot of damage to this. But even if you do kill the Nexus, as long as the Protoss player just keeps the probes alive, it's actually not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I was just thinking when you were talking about the CC first, that Flash would probably play CC first on a map that he was maybe not super confident in.
Yeah.
Like, he should be confident here on Attitude that he can find his way into a good position. Snow, on the other hand, you know, maybe not as confident, feeling like he maybe needs a leg up. Goes for that Nexus first. I think it's a good call, and as long as he manages to keep that alive, he should be in a good position. Okay, pulling the boys. At least a couple SCVs on the way. We got a Marine coming as well. Maybe a bit of a bunker rush here to try and put on some pressure to Snow, who's open double gateway. Pretty safe follow-up to the Nexus first, but we'll see if he can hold on. Yeah,
this is a very safe variation. You do have to cut a little bit of probes when you do this to be able to afford the first two Zealots and then the two Dragoons afterwards. Kind of like watching a ZVT right now against an 8-Rax, where you've got to pull some probes out to delay a bunker being set up. Obviously, there's not going to be a Vulture for some time here, so, you know, he can kind of put on a little bit of pressure. Oh, looks like he's going to lose his probe in the main base just because he's so focused on macroing back at home and controlling these probes on the front line. Eventually, though, Flash will reach a threshold where he can actually dive into this natural. There's a lot more stuff coming across the map, more SCVs being brought to bear. Try saying that 3 times fast. And yeah, we'll eventually have 2 Dragoons out behind these 2 Zealots. Flash looks like he's still going to be going for this and trying to punish.
Well, there should be Dragoons popping out here soon. I mean, he did have to delay a little bit of mining with those probes pulled off the line for some time, but let's see if he can get these Dragoons out in time to deny the bunker. He actually stops the bunker from making for a second, and here comes the Dragoon. So this is actually looking to be a very good hold from Snow. As long as he keeps denying the bunker, he should be in a great spot. Coming in for the flank with the Zealots, running forward actually with the Dragoon. He dives directly on to that Vulture, but the Vulture survives. The Marines are taking quite a bit of damage. One more Marine is left over. He does get the Vulture. Can he block the second Marine? Ah, the Marine does slip by and should be able to get in the Vulture. No! Oh, it doesn't get in the bunker. What? He didn't put that in the bunker. That's crazy. One SCV, or one Marine, excuse me, in the bunker is just so much worse than having 2. And he even loses another one there to the probe control. I don't think he can break the Nexus at this rate, Xun. We're going to have a bunch of Dragoons out here in a moment, and with the range coming online too, it should be an easy cleanup. He is going to get the other Vulture too. Big mistake there from Flash, I feel, but the block running by was not the right call. Snow loses a Dragoon and has nothing up this ramp to defend. Another Vulture running into the main.
Gonna be a long time until range is done so we can start pressuring that bunker. A lot of probes have already died and a few more going down as well. Here for Snow, little bit of problems for him to deal with now. Flash probably could have repaired that Vulture and survived a little bit longer with that attack, but it doesn't matter because he lost the Dragoon either way in the end. Does come in and kill another Vulture with these Dragoons. The Dragoon's getting very softened up, but it doesn't matter too much now. The Dragoon's main job is just to wait for range to start putting a clock on this bunker. 3 won't be enough though. He'll have to get 4 to actually break this position since there are 3 SCVs here to repair. Nexus getting dangerously low. He actually can't really afford to lose the Nexus with how many probes that have died.
Yeah, when is this range gonna finish, man? He's actually pulling probes right now. He's gonna go for the bunker kill. No, too late. Snow turns back around. He's even supply blocked after that. It's a pretty bad situation now. I think a few micro decisions, little decisions that were made here by Snow resulting in this pretty rough position at the end of the day. It was looking like he had a handle on things, and he's killed a lot of vultures, but he just hasn't been able to deal with this bunker. And yeah, he's still waiting on that range, man. This range is pretty darn late. He will eventually clear that up and get the Nexus down, but Flash looking to be in a great spot.
Yeah, this is about as fantastic as Flash could have hoped for. He not only kills the Nexus, but did a lot of damage to the probes as well. He is very far ahead in the curve of this game. His CC's getting closer to finishing in the natural, and Snow is basically on 1 base. Snow kind of has to do something, but ideally he wants to come in here and punish Flash just before he can get, you know, a few siege tanks set up defensively. That'd be an ideal case scenario here for Snow if he can, like, maybe get into the natural behind the mineral line or something. But, you know, the reality is that Flash is going to have 3 tanks ready for this, so Snow can't really challenge. And as you can see, he's going to have to back away with his tail tucked between his legs. Go for the backup plan of just taking the Nexus and trying to macro out of this, but the reality is Flash is ahead in so many regards.
Yeah, it's hard to see a comeback now for Snow. This was a pretty conservative bunker play from Flash. You know, he didn't pull that many SCVs, only about 4 or so, and he killed so many probes at the end of the day. It was a bit of a chaotic moment there, but as the dust settles down here, it's really looking difficult for Snow to find a comeback. He may want to take another Nexus, double expand. That's how a lot of Protoss players will follow up after they get busted. But without the probes, like usually when you do something like that, you pull the probes from the natural, let the Nexus die, and then you know, go for the double expand after range is done. But if you know, throw away a ton of probes like this, it's usually just a GG scenario if the Nexus dies. So it'll be a heck of a comeback if Snow can manage to turn things around.
No, you're absolutely right, Saiyan. Yeah, Snow was kind of being a little bit greedy. Like, he wanted to keep this Nexus alive. He was willing to pay the price of some probes for it, but the fact that he lost both means he's just so much up against it going forward in this game. And look how late the 3rd Nexus is going to be at the 6 o'clock as well. Like, Flash is way ahead in supply. He's going to have no need to push out anytime soon as well. He can just go into a normal, like, 5 factory setup or what have you. And he could even just kind of expand. He doesn't even need to necessarily attack Snow. No matter what he does, by the time he gets close to maxed out, he'll have more stuff than Snow. But there's a bit of a window here where Snow can pounce on some of these tanks. Is going to kill 2 of them for the price of a few Dragoons here. Not the worst trade in the world for Snow, but because of how far ahead Flash is, it's still not going to be enough to make up the difference.
Yeah, that was all right. He couldn't really do much. Oh, 6 factory follow-up here from Flash.
Ooh.
He just knows that Snow is going to be so light on units after losing a ton of Dragoons. And trying to get this 3rd base, like, everything is lining up for a Flash victory here. I don't think he knows necessarily about this 3rd, but I think he knows that Snow needs to do something to try and come back in this game. He can't just sit there and build gateways and build a bunch of units and get Reavers and everything. He needed to take this 3rd in order to give himself an opportunity to come back. And that has lined him up for this 6 factory to be insanely effective.
Yeah, Snow just can't afford a lot of stuff right now. Like, if he was able to go straight up to like 6 gateways right off the bat, maybe he could hold off something like this, but it looks pretty bleak for Snow. Royal's the kind of guy that likes to go for 6 factory plays a lot. I think Flash is doing this just because he knows that Snow will not be able to both expand and make a bunch of gateways at once right now because of how much economic damage he took in that early game. Flash is going to be going for a very early kill move here in just a few moments. Right as Snow starts to get set up and stabilized, he's probably going to get overrun in the center and forced all the way back to his natural expansion.
I mean, even without any rallies, I think Snow would probably get broken by Flash here. Kills a couple of tanks, but Dragoons are getting absolutely blasted now, setting up some tanks to cover the main rally point for Flash. One more tank might go down. Okay, that's another nice catch there. But the numbers just don't lie, man. Flash has so much more than Snow, and any little wins here are going to be outweighed by the massive pressure that's coming with the 6 fact. One more tank. He does manage to get it. 3 Dragoons lying dead there on the field. 4 gateways behind this, and the Robo just barely finished up, so he's not even going to have observers here for a little while. It's just such a bad scenario, all born by that early game attack from Flash, and this Nexus first certainly did not pay off. Flash is going to be taking this victory. GG, it's called. There it is. Flash ties up the series.
Yeah, no surprise there. Such a good map for Terran, and Flash did a masterful job of dispatching that Nexus first, despite the more safe variant that Snow utilized with the 2 gateway opening. Flash is just so good, man. I kind of expected it to go this way. I'm almost hoping that it continues this trend where now that we've got Snow's map pick next, I hope that Snow wins that, and then we'll be tied up 2-2 eventually for a 5th game. That's kind of my ideal world. And it looks like we're on that trajectory right now. I hope Snow doesn't get too disheartened with how that game planned out. It's kind of is what it is on attitude. Like, someone as good as Flash is going to find ways of exploiting you no matter what you do. You go for a Nexus first to try and make up the deficit of the map imbalance, and Flash is primed to punish.
Oof, that's diabolical. I saw a sign, one of the girls in the front of the crowd holding up a sign saying ASL 8 again. Yikes. That was the that was the series where Snow got absolutely swept. Anyways, guys, we've got a 3-minute break. We'll be right back. Match number 3 on Jane Doe. It's coming right up. All right, boys. It's time. We're all tied up here in the round of 8. Match number 4. Flash versus Snow. Moving into Jane Doe. This could be a very spicy match. We've seen a lot of cheese coming out of Protoss players on this map. We'll see if Snow has something special prepped. I'm of the opinion, I believe that Flash could do something like a CC first here. I feel like he could just go for it, feeling like he's got a read on Snow. His reads haven't been too good this series so far, but he is one of those type of players to go for a CC first when you just least expect it.
I mean, you could be right saying, but I think it would be absolutely crazy, or maybe just balls of steel to do something like a CC first on Jane Doe. Like Proxy DT is a factor, Proxy Robo Reaver is a factor. So much range of shenanigans can come out from Protoss on this map. If you go for CC first, even if you scout the proxy, you could just be dead. So yeah, me personally, I don't see CC first in the cards. Maybe a Rax expand with gasless CC, possibly, but we'll have to wait and see. You know, there could be some metagaming going on where Flash is just pretty sure that Snow won't try and do those kinds of shenanigans here, and instead will try like a Reaver into carrier or what have you. And yeah, maybe he still does go for a very fast CC. We'll see. This is Snow's map pick. He kind of does need to win here, in my opinion. Map 4 is Polestar, another really good map for Terran. It has to go back and forth between these guys for Snow to win the series and close it out on knockout. This, I would say this is a must-win game for Snow.
Yeah, I think we might see a bit of carrier action from Snow here. He is very strong with the Reaver carrier play. Just using the carriers to harass, pick off tanks, pick off Goliaths, and then falling back to the Reavers where you just can't push in with the Goliaths. Like you can't attack in with Goliaths and try to dive on the carriers when Reavers are hitting them. So he's very good at using that style. This is a map where you've got multiple ridges in the middle of the map as well. So that's a big factor in slowing down a Terran push and buying time for carriers. That's why it's very strong on this map. We'll see if Snow wants to do that, though. I mean, yeah, he's capable of doing pretty much any style. He could go for a DT play, like you were saying. He could go for Arbiters. Like, so many different factors are here right now. I think one thing's for sure. Flash is going to be on the lookout, man. He may be sending out some early SCVs to go and scout the map.
Yeah, I think something like a DT play is more likely than Proxy DT is more likely than DT into Arbiter, but we'll have to see. Rax expand into Vulture drop could be in the cards here for Flash as well. That wouldn't be a bad play on this map. We're going to be finding out soon what these gamers will be electing to do. Yeah, just Flash's cheeks puffed out like a hamster holding that drink inside. Now we're getting all started up, guys, with our game number 3 in the ASL Season 21, Round of 8, Match 4, Game 3 between Snow and Flash on Jane Doe. Let's get it started.
All right, guys. Snow spawning here at the left side of Jane Doe. Flash in the right. There he is. Oh, he swallowed. Okay. So he's not holding that the entire game. I guess that's just at the beginning.
Just a pre-game
I was kind of, yeah, I guess so. I was kind of wondering if he would keep something in his mouth so that he'd keep breathing through his nose throughout the game. But I guess not. I guess not. There's Snow with the 2 babies on his lap. He's a father, as is Light as well. So if Snow does manage to advance here, it's going to be Daddy Terran versus Daddy Protoss. Which is kind of crazy, kind of insane to think that, you know, these guys, these gamers, who've been in the sport for so long, still at the top of their game, and they have kids that they have to take care of, that they're supporting with this amazing career choice. Kind of insane, kind of impressive.
Yeah, they just need to fulfill their duty and raise the next generation of StarCraft gamers, right?
That's right. That's right.
Well, look at
I
this.
wonder what...
I think you're right. I think you're right. This is a CC first from Flash. You called it, Saiyan.
Hey, what do you know? Expect the unexpected. Xun, Flash, going for a CC first. Nexus first on the way for Snow. And this is favoring Flash, man. Like, Nexus first is good, but CC first is better.
True, true. Yeah, let's see how he wants to develop this. Because of the tech timings of both players will be set back. Kind of like when you go 8 racks in TVZ, like the tech timings of Terran and Zerg are set back by a whole minute. Kind of a similar vibe here. And that means that it opens up the build order range for Flash as well. Like, not only is CC first better than 12 Nexus, but because the tech trees are kind of reset for both individuals, you know, Flash has a more dynamic range to work with. Like, he still could go for a vulture drop or what have you. We'll see. Pretty good control with the SCV, keeping this probe locked out so he can't come up here and easily harass this wall that's being set up.
Yeah, and you can't really tell what's going on behind this wall, right? Like, you see the barracks is so late, and you kind of have to assume it's CC first, but yeah, who knows? He might have gone for like an early gas or something like that, you know, and getting into something like a 2-port Wraith. Like, something weird could be happening on the top of this ramp. That's the problem with Jane Doe. It's just very hard to scout and see exactly what's going on, and Flash is keeping the question mark in Snow's mind. What is actually happening in this game by defying him on the ramp here and blocking him from getting up and finding out what's going on. Oh,
yeah,
he loses the SCV.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the SCV didn't really have anywhere to go, but Flash just needed to delay a few more seconds there. Nice little win for Snow. Flash going to continue to deny this probe scout now and just push out. Get a little bit of vision on the map, see what he can see in terms of any sort of potential aggression out of Snow.
And with how late this Marine has showed up, like, Snow can assume it's CC first, but it also could have been a mind game from Flash where he hides the first Marine and lets the SCV die anyway. So Snow still doesn't know for sure. Ooh, bumping bellies with that probe, almost gets the kill with the fusion. Cutter tries to get the chase micro, not quite finding it though. Probe barely escaping with its life as it regenerates those shield hit points. A little bit of a moral victory for Snow to start things off. Killing the SCV and keeping the probe alive definitely is a feel-good moment. And Flash might be a tiny bit ticked off with that, but he does actually kill the probe still anyway with the SCV. What just happened?
It's definitely a mistake there from Snow. Wanted to keep tabs on that SCV, but didn't want to re-engage there. Does make a bit of a mistake. Gonna lose the SCV, and the Marine goes down. Wait, move over to the right side here just a little bit more. He'd get a lot more information. Snow putting some damage onto this supply depot. Secondary probe making its way forward. There's a full transition into carrier. Called it again, Xun. There we go. Carrier and possibly with Reavers as well. This is an excellent style for Snow to go for, but 2 base carriers, unexpected.
Yeah, this is a very spicy variation of carrier. This is kind of like a Lancer X style, like rushing into them right off the bat before getting set up with Reavers first. Very ambitious here from Snow, but he thinks he can get away with it against Flash. It's a CC first, so, you know, there won't be a lot of units available for Flash initially to come out onto. Oh, he's doing tech mech. He's going double armory. Actually, this carrier style can work, saying he's not going to build an insane amount of factories right off the bat. He's not going to be doing a pressure build against Snow. He's just going to take his third base and macro up, and that kind of plays into Snow's hands a tiny bit.
Oh my god, cheeky play there from Snow.
What a cheeky monkey.
I guess he did scout the CC up there on the high ground. It kind of looked like he didn't. Oh, another pylon Oh my goodness. You're super low on units with this style as Flash. So this is kind of annoying, really. It does play into Snow's hand a bit, like you were saying, you know? Usually when you're going up against a carrier-based play, you want to scout that as soon as possible and do a dedicated push to shut it down before your opponent reaches that critical mass of carriers. But what Flash is doing here is prepping for like a big, strong 2-2 timing, something like that, where he's getting the third gas already. He's going to be getting a starport here momentarily. I can imagine he's going to go directly into Science Facility as well. Ooh, double expansion from Snow, realizing that Flash is playing insanely greedy. He needs to match greed for greed, and he's doing so.
Now, Flash is going to have great upgrades the longer the game develops. So, you know, if he can survive the initial onslaught from the carriers, it's not going to be too terrible for Flash. But he's not going to have nearly enough units to push across the map and heavily punish this timing from Snow. Flash is going for a style which is a lot more defensive initially. He's going to be throwing down a bunch of factories now, so he's going up to at least 5. We'll be probably throwing down more and more. You can go all the way up to 7 factories on 3 base, and theoretically you can go all the way up to 9 on 3 base as well. We'll see how many he does elect to do. Usually it's like a 7 factory or 8 factory into 4th base, or 9 factory stay on 3 base kind of type deal. Like I was saying, he's going to have good upgrades this game. But, you know, Snow's got a very fast 4th base as well. Carriers are already out. There will be a window where there's vulnerability that Flash has to overcome.
Yeah, he's only got a few interceptors here so far, and carriers really aren't scary until you have at least 4 of them. 2 is just, it's just not it. It's not really going to do too much, but since there's only 1 Goliath here, I guess you can pressure the carrier on the high ground, or press the tank on the high ground, excuse me, with the carriers, and then potentially maybe do a little bit of a push in here. Only 3 Goliaths out, but there's about to be, you know, another 6 or 7 popping here in just a second. 1 more Goliath gonna fall. Does not have Charon boosters, by the way. No Charon boosters here is kind of rough. He's not really able to hit the interceptors from long range, which makes it very hard to actually kill any interceptors when he can only target the ones that are very close to you. So he's actually getting some pretty reasonable damage with this. A Dragoon or 2 do end up falling because Snow wasn't close enough to the wall at the bottom. Went into range there for a moment. Gets pushed back. Kind of decent first little volley here from Snow, but now you can see the Goliath number is getting way too strong. So many Goliaths are being incremented out, and he doesn't have a forge. He can't really build cannons right now, so Snow's got to quickly get a couple more carriers out, make some gateways, and get a bigger force together because Flash is moving with intent.
Yeah, Flash doesn't have to target the carriers at all. He can just go after the interceptors, knowing that Snow is reliant so heavily on these defensively as well. Was a nice initial skirmish there from Snow, but we got 1-1 upgrades on this Terran army as well to contend with. Snow is going to have to dig deep with his special forces tactics, trying to play guerrilla warfare, shaving off what he can from angles, stopping Snow from getting into a siege position. But looks like Snow is just going to evacuate this 3rd base for the time being. He has this base at the 6 o'clock, so it's not the end of the world if he does concede this natural expansion on the low ground, and Flash is going to start setting up turrets here. But good play from Snow, taking out a couple of those SUVs to deny too many turrets from being set up there. Flash has identified the base at 6 o'clock. He's rotating down there with his reinforcements, and there's not a lot to stop this army.
Oh man, that's huge. He sees that base at 6 o'clock at the perfect timing. No cannons over at that location here just yet. All the tanks are going to go down very quickly. Target fire onto one of these carriers. Almost loses it. Does manage to pull away, though. And will clear out the rest of this army while saving the Nexus at the 3rd base. Well, quite a trade here for Flash's first army, but the carrier number will continue to grow up to 6 in just another few moments. So that's going to be a massive factor here as Flash continues this fight.
Yeah, this is still not too terrible for Snow. He's got a window until 2-2 finishes for Flash where maybe he can get a lot of work done. He's got a high count of carriers, but not quite a huge amount of interceptors just yet. Pouncing on top of these tanks of Flash so that his Dragoons can do more work on the ground. Still 2 tanks in the back line on this high ground, doing a lot of heavy lifting here for Flash. Snow gradually whittling down this army, but he's already conceded that 6 o'clock base, so it's wise not to commit too heavily into it. Flash has been able to reinforce this army, though, from the rally point. Quite a lot of Goliaths on the ground. He's doing a good job of stopping Snow, getting a critical mass of Dragoons in support of these carriers. Snow also rotating around the map pretty adeptly. Carrier goes down, though. That's a big swing for Flash. He's close to getting the 2-2 upgrades. He's already reduced the carrier count, and look how many interceptors that Flash is killing as well.
Yeah, he's just lighting up these interceptors as they try to return back home. Carriers are being chased down. He will turn and start to fight here with the Dragoons. Flash backs away. This is a good angle for Snow, but he's being flanked right now. He could have gone up over top of the high ground, but this flank of Goliath is actually going to dive directly on top of the carriers. Another one is bound to fall in just a second. The Dragoons are going to be sacrificed. That carrier is super low. I believe Snow just went back for a macro round, but he pulls away just in the nick of time. He keeps the carriers alive, but this army is knocking down the front door, Xun, and carriers are incrementing out too slow. Does he have the muscle to stop this? It feels like Flash, with his upgrades coming online, might just be able to break open the front door.
It seems like that's a likelihood, saying he's also got a few turrets being set up here. Makes it harder and harder to break through this with the carriers. Flash looks pretty scary right now. It doesn't look like Snow is going to be able to get that base stabilized, so he's down to just 2 bases worth of economy. There's still enough to produce some carriers and keep your interceptors being refilled, but Flash has done a phenomenal job of shaving off those interceptors. He hasn't got a full contingent of them. Snow now trying to get on top of the Terran production line, sacrificing the base completely and trying to stop Flash from being able to reinforce the front lines over and over again. But Flash's macro is insane right now. Snow can't even overcome the rally point back at home while Flash is knocking on the front door.
Oh, dude, this is brutal. Flash is just shutting down these carriers absolutely everywhere, and now Snow is behind on bases. The carrier count is high, but he's just not quite as good of a carrier user as someone like Mini or Bisu. Somebody who can really... Oh, wow. A lot of these guys are actually stuck in the main right now, having a hard time getting those out. I think he's got enough at the front to make it very hard for Snow to break and give him enough time to send the reinforcements across the map, though. These carriers are going to try to break through this army. So many turrets have been built, though, and the carriers, again, just not being microed quite as well as you would have hoped. All the interceptors are gone, and GG is called. Snow taps out. Another win on the board for Flash.
Saiyan. I really do feel like Snow needed to win this game. Next map coming up is Polestar. A way better map for Terran. Very easy to secure third gas and some tight chokes to hold on to. Not a great map for carriers either. You can go arbiters on that map and kind of try and pull the Terran around, use a few good stasises, and there is a way of navigating Polestar to an advantage as Protoss, but it requires a lot of finesse. And yeah, I'm not so sure that Snow can pull it off against someone of Flash's caliber. It was not a bad strategy here, though, on Jane Doe to go for those really fast carriers. It's just Flash deals with everything so much better than other Terrans do. Defensively, he's almost perfect. And the fact that he had those big steel balls to go for a CC first to kick things off kind of solidified his game state against Snow going forward. But guys, going to be going to a bit of a commercial break here. Run to the bathroom, grab some water, grab some fruit, crack open a can from your 6-pack, whatever you got to do, and we'll be here joining you in game number 4, Snow versus Flash. Don't go anywhere.
All right, guys, we are back and ready for set number 4, match number 4 here in our best of 5. Snow falling a little bit behind, losing his map choice. It's looking a little bit dire here as Flash cruises along into his next map pick, Polestar. It's going to be tough. Snow looking calm, though. We'll see if he can pull something off. We were talking during the break a little bit about that match from Flash and the optimization, the pure optimization displayed by Flash was pretty impressive. The moment that he saw those carriers cut comsats, cut the starport. I didn't even notice that the starport was not there, that he wasn't going into +2, but he just maximized for Goliath production and absolutely ran it down. Really well played by him. Here we go, guys. Match number 4.
Hope you guys are ready for it. The ASL Season 21, Round of 8, Match 4, Game 4, between Snow and Flash. Let's get it started, guys. The map, it's Polestar.
Spotting bottom left, we have Snow. Flash in the bottom right. Close positions once again. Are we going to see Snow try to get away with the a Nexus first? I feel it. I feel it coming on. Xun, I feel like a Nexus first might be coming here. It's a tough map. Snow's coming off a loss. It's got to be tempting to try and get a little bit of an edge against Flash here.
Yeah, looks like it might just be a forward gateway, though, in the natural, to put on some pressure. And it is close spawn, so, like, theoretically, the gateway in the natural versus the Nexus first could be superior, especially if Flash gets a little bit greedy himself. We'll have to see. But yeah, I'm not going to sugarcoat it too much. Like, this is going to be tough for Snow going forward. Very favorited map for Terran. But you know, Snow could surprise us. He could dig deep and find a way of winning here on Polestar. It has happened, like players like Best, you know, they're good at maneuvering around on this map and pulling the Terran back and forth and catching them out of position and force the Terran to make a few mistakes. It does happen. Snow could find a way of doing that here as well. But it's going to be tricky. This is certainly a harder map to navigate for Snow than something like Jane Doe.
Yes, it's going to be a challenge for sure. The challenge, greatest challenge of Snow's career, man. Taking down Flash. It's been a constant struggle for him. That's only gone away recently, and now he's back. Tearing up the scene. Changing the way that players are looking at all the Terran matchups. Controlling the meta. Flash is just such a massive pillar of the community, and I'm glad to have him back, but I'm sad that he may be going away after this tournament.
Yeah.
After this ASL. He's trying to put on his absolute best performance here. He wants that final prize. He wants one more victory. He even said on stream that he plans to donate all the funds to charity if he wins and retire a champion once again. But he's still got a long ways to go here. Snow could start to turn this around.
Right.
As it comes into this natural. Only 2 Marines, a 3rd Marine about to pop out. His factory is on the way. Really nice positioning there from Flash. Good defensive spot. Snow sees it and he doesn't want any of it.
Yeah, it's not going to be that greedy of a Nexus timing as well here from Snow. He's optimizing for unit production way more than Nexus timing, so it's going to be something like a 27 Nexus or 28 Nexus, something like that. He did get 2 hits on one of these Marines with the probe, so it'll die to 2 shots from the Zealots or 3-shot from the Dragoon. He softened this up a little bit, but Flash, he's not cut any corners. He's got 5 Marines and a Vulture here. Very sturdy wall for Snow to contest with, and he probably won't challenge that initially. Maybe when the second Dragoon arrives, he can think about challenging that, but now he's got to worry about this Vulture on the map, so you kind of can't commit to the front with that Dragoon. You have to instead be on standby duty, waiting to deal with the Vulture that's roaming around, or you could find yourself completely obliterated if it gets inside the main base. And Flash playing super safe, going bunker into that CC, and this is definitely a slight edge for Flash. You know, his CC starting around about the same time this Nexus is from Snow. This is a very delayed Nexus from our Protoss.
Yeah, it's a little bit tough here for Snow. He's going to be getting into his Reaver here soon, I imagine, and be looking to try and open up Flash early on, but this map is very tough to break a Terran player on, especially once they get into their third base. Like, that third base is so neatly tucked in the corner. You know that Flash has been gaming out exactly where he needs his turrets to take that base with the absolute minimum investment of tanks and units to make that happen. Snow can't really go for anything super fancy, just kind of has to play his game here. There's no easy route to victory against Flash, because anything he does could be punished, and any aggression that he tries will probably be defended.
Yeah, and he was playing a little bit scared, honestly, like going for this pressure play with a delayed Nexus. He was a little bit worried that he might need those units to deflect something crazy out of Flash as well. Like, you have to respect the possibility of like a strong FD push or what have you. But Flash is not doing anything like that. He's just sitting back and chilling. And looks like a mid-range style here from Snow, going for 2-gate Robo. Now throwing down that support bay. I didn't actually see an observatory. Did he get that support bay before observatory? That's going to be interesting if he has elected to do that. That's a little bit different.
Try to get the faster Reaver out. Maybe sneak in right before turrets come down. That's a possibility. Yeah, he gets the observatory after the fact. So
okay,
I'm going to be going shuttle, then Reaver, then observer. And we'll see if he can get in there and deal any real damage to Flash, who's so far been sewn up very tight. Maybe getting a couple of Goliaths at this point to try and hold off with, again, the absolute bare minimum investment in defenses, which could kind of come back to to bite him here. We'll see. No turrets so far. Most Terran players will fold and build turrets against Snow just because he is that good with Reavers.
Well, back in the day, Flash used to love defending with Goliaths rather than turrets, and you can see he's doing that here as well. 2 Goliaths already out. Will be a little bit of time until the Karen boosters are ready, though, so maybe still a chance for Snow to exploit that. It is more optimal to skip over the turrets and go for the Goliaths, but it can be more precarious, can force you to play a lot better as Terran to make it work, but Flash is more than capable of that. Scoops up a Zealot along with that Reaver to come in now, but we'll have these first couple of Goliaths to contend with to try and get in here.
All right, he's going in. Bails out immediately. 4 tanks and 2 Goliaths. That's way too much to contend with. The positioning was perfect there. Flash, excellent setup. I'm just going to completely deny this, but has sort of moved towards the natural now. Maybe there's a route in that's opened up for Snow. He's going to try to pressure into this main again. Doesn't see a way in and just falls back with the shuttle while looking to take that third base. Flash getting away with a lot here, not making any turrets against Snow is kind of an accomplishment in itself.
Yeah, he's already got 4 factories set up right off the bat. He's going into a 5th now. Nice play here from Flash overall. One of the advantages of going for those Goliaths is obviously they move. So if it's just turrets, you can kind of like unload the Reaver outside of the range of the turret and like pick off those turrets one by one and gradually open up the Terran's position. Against Goliaths that are being microed by someone the likes of Flash, you can really shut down that kind of line of play from the Protoss. And now suddenly going for these early Reavers is not paying off for Snow at all. And he's going to have to go back to the drawing board in this game because they're currently pretty evenly matched on supply, which heavily favors the Terran. Wonder how fast Snow is going to be electing to take his 4th base here, because Flash is going to start moving out right around the time Snow will be eyeing up that 4th base.
Flash has definitely got his eye on a 4th here as he moves forward. 2 buildings floating ominously overhead. Tanks not quite sieged up, only 2 tanks siege here. He does target down the shuttle, though. The shuttle kill is huge, losing the Reaver immediately, but the spread of Dragoons is pretty good, trading out a lot of kills on these tanks. I would have expected more from the Reavers of Snow, though, and with those being gone, I mean, Flash has kind of opened up to start moving across the map. He's bringing the SCVs with him and just bearing down on the natural. No shuttle left over. He's going to try to flank this a little bit with the Dragoon siege up here and will be beaten back. Snow in a bit of trouble as his minerals start to gather up. He's actually behind in supply. He has another shuttle, but that first Reaver loss is painful. Snow's going to have a hard time breaking this once it's set up on high ground.
Yeah, I like the attempt here from Snow. This would work against most Terran players, kind of, you know, shuffling around the map with these Dragoons and trying to probe the Terran for weaknesses to exploit, but Flash is just not making those kinds of mistakes that a lot of Terrans do. Very tentative with how he's shuffling forward with his tanks, although one tank does get caught out in the reinforcement transit line. Reaver's still alive, helping kill some of these tanks off, but the Dragoon count getting lower and lower for Snow. Uses a Zealot bomb to try and kill this tank, but it doesn't finish it off. We'll be able to get a kill order on that now with the Dragoon. Reaver trying to do a lot, and now the 4 Dragoons coming up from behind with in conjunction with the Zealot could actually wipe out these tanks here. This is a big shift for Snow, but this is barely helping him survive. This isn't still a great spot for Snow. He's just avoiding total disaster.
Yeah, I mean, he does clear this up for the most part. Some more units are going to pop out here in a second, but I've seen multiple instances of Snow missing Reaver shots, like dropping the Reaver, trying to take a shot, and not getting it off, and then, you know, having to pick up again. Oh, that's a big hit right there. Really nice connection on a bunch of those. Vultures actually saves Snow and allows him to push this army back a little bit. Flash continuing with the push. He just does not know when to quit, man. He turns on go mode and he just keeps on hitting. Running around the outside now, trying to get some damage on these probes. Snow going to pull the majority of those away. Needs to get a Reaver over here to shut this down, though. Meanwhile, Army still pushing forward from Flash. He's not giving up on this push.
Yeah, there's one Reaver with very low HP and a fresh Reaver that's just had its shield shaved off. Snow still has a lot of punching power with these Reavers, but they could die very quickly if he's not careful. Flash, undeterred in his advancement. That's a big Scarab. These are the kind of trades that Snow needs to keep chugging along with. This is a 6-factory push from Flash. Kind of a semi-all-in style where you have to do damage to the Protoss to make this work. Meanwhile, Snow finally taking that 4th base. If he can stabilize the position, he will be looking better and better here against Flash. So the onus is still kind of on Flash to make this work or to find economic damage by catching the probes, transferring or what have you. But so far, Snow, he's held his own. He's kept Flash back.
Yeah, he's actually managed to accumulate a sizable advantage in terms of supply as well. 20 supply. It's not massive, but it's gonna allow him to take potentially a big trade here in a moment to dive on top of these tanks with the Zealots from multiple angles. Zealots and Dragoons gonna be coming in here shortly. He sees the position. He sees exactly what he's up against. He's actually moving around. The army doesn't see the 3rd base, though. He's going straight into the natural. Could have absolutely denied that 3rd base from making. He's forcing the turnaround from Flash. Actually, Flash very rarely turns his forces around in situations like this, but he's decided it's necessary to try and flank this army. Big shot! Not as many SCVs as I would have thought, but might have another opportunity here in just a second. Another big shot on the army. Gonna lose the shuttle here in a moment, it looks like. Can he drop again? No. Not able to drop the Reaver. Not getting the greatest SCV connections either, but creating a pretty big problem for Flash and buying himself some time to get this 4th base online.
He did deny some mining there from Flash, and Snow's got 4 bases behind this. In theory, the longer this goes on, the better it can get for Snow, but there's a lot of tempo available to Flash. After killing that army, Snow could find himself in a little bit of trouble. He has got his forces out on the map right now, so he could flank from the north here as Flash tries to shove it down into the natural. Plenty of Zealots. Good pre-spread with those Zealots by Snow to make sure he gets maximum value as they charge in here. Can't quite find many mine drags, but it doesn't necessarily matter. He actually has got enough forces to overwhelm these tanks of Flash. This is crazy, Saiyan. Snow is starting to make it happen. He's in a pretty good spot. He's trading well against Flash. Flash has a 3rd base mining, but Snow is cleaning up everything right now.
There's the micro, the control with the Reaver that we know Snow so well for. Keeping these Reavers alive for an inordinate amount of time and just getting so much damage while controlling the army with the flank. Dude, I feel like if Snow had known about this 3rd base, he could have shut it down and would have been in an absolutely insane position at this point. But as it stands, he's going to get raided at center left. A lot of probes are going to go down, and he just hasn't been able to do anything about that 4th that 3rd from Flash. Almost every probe ends up dying. Snow's just going to counter and see if he can dive on top of these tanks. One shot, one volley goes off. He's going to wait for the 2nd volley. Now going to drop the Reavers, taking a shot at the middle of this tank clump. Great hits there on the tanks, but they both go down. Both the Reavers fall. Just the turret itself picking off that shuttle, diving on top of this back line of tanks, picking off so many of the tanks here as they run back. This is a crazy game, Xun, but Snow is keeping the tank count very low throughout everything.
That was some good target firing there from Flash, but it's not enough. Snow is starting to get ahead of this game. Terran's in a little bit of trouble. He's going to be mined out in his main base in just a couple of minutes here. Natural expansion will take longer to mine out because of the harassment and the attack from Snow earlier, so there's a lot more yield left in those minerals. So Flash will still have 2 bases of mining for a good like 4 or 5 minutes or so. But Snow is starting to overwhelm him. This is very problematic for Flash. There's hardly any tanks, and Snow is not slowing down, keeping the pressure on while Flash is vulnerable. All of the tanks falling in quick order. G is called, and Snow is through to the final game. Flash looks a little bit flabbergasted. I'm kind of blown away by that. That was such a tough map for Snow. And he claws almost victory from the from the jaws of defeat there. Now Snow has such a big shot at taking down this series against Flash. That's such a massive tempo win. Flash really wanted to close out the series on that map because Knockout, a lot more of a balanced PvT map, and Snow going to be feeling much more confident and sure of himself. Considering how reserved he played that game, he took a much more delayed Nexus timing. He went for a fast Reaver play that didn't really do any damage, and he still pulled out the victory. Definitely a lot of tempo now for Snow.
Damn. All right, guys. We're going to go to game 5. Short little commercial break, and we'll be right back. Game number 5 coming up here on Knockout. All right, we are back for the final match here, guys. Set number 5 between Snow and Flash on Knockout. I'm so glad we got a game number 5 here.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
a little bit afraid when we saw what happened on Jane Doe, but Snow played a hell of a defensive game, and Flash was pretty eager to win with the 6-fact. We've seen 2 6-facts this series. Is he, afraid or maybe tired with his wrists to play into a late game and go to 4 or 5 bases and maybe even get into a split map situation? It seems like he's just trying to end it as quickly as possible.
Does seem like that, but it's kind of weird because he said before that he can play a good like 10 games or so before his wrist pain really starts to become a problem. But maybe he's played a lot of games before being here on stage and he's already kind of hurt his wrist. Who knows, man? I'm so glad though that we have got this game number 5 between these two gamers. Hope you guys are ready because we're about to get started now. The ASL Season 21 Round of 8. Flash versus Snow. Game 5 on Knockout. Let's get this show on the road, guys.
Snow spawning at top right. We got Flash here in the top left. No cross spawns this whole series. Just close position. A little bit unfortunate for the Protoss players out there, man. Like cross spawn, we know the stats on cross spawn. It's definitely better for Protoss player to get that. Thought we would have got at least once, but Snow has been putting out a good series so far. Can he close it out? I'm super excited for him to finally take a win over Flash in one of these series, guys. But before we get into this game, one last shout out. Come support us on Patreon, guys. Saiyan Shouldn't Duocast. We appreciate all your support. Thank you so much for helping us to continue to cast this game and making it financially viable for us to do so for the long term.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys, for supporting us. We do dedicate a lot of time and attention to the StarCraft scene, so any help is much appreciated. It's kind of funny. If Snow can win this, like, being able to do it without your racial passive of not having cross map as well, like, that would be something special against the caliber of player that Flash is. Let's see if Flash is willing to slow down the game this time around and not go for that 6 factory play again. Totally fine to just go like 5 factory into a 3rd base and then go either 7 factory into a 4th, or you can go up to 8, 9 factories on 3 base as well. Let's see. Looks like no cheeky greedy plays from both players to begin things. Very traditional gas timings from both players.
I was wondering if we were going to see something cheeky out of Flash, but I'm glad that we're going to get a more standard play on this map, crossing the 2 scouts in the middle. Nice little bit of damage there to get things started. Could come up over to the top left and steal the minerals. That might be a thing.
Who's hiding the Zealot?
If you open up the ramp here, now that he knows that Flash is top left, he could, get those 2 minerals taken care of, and then it makes it a lot easier to push up the ramp. He actually doesn't. Gonna instead run by here into the main, get a little damage on the Marine, couple of hits there, and back off.
Yeah, this is interesting, because, like, hiding the Zealot, I guess, is nice, but Flash isn't flinching. He's not reacting to that. He's still going to throw down his bunker. He's still probably going to make a good 3 Marines or so. So I don't think hiding the Zealot really accomplishes anything for Snow, unfortunately. You can see here he's seeing the bad news that there is a bunker that's just about to pop. But a more crisply timed Nexus here for Snow. 22 supply. He went for a much later Nexus in that last game on Polestar against Flash, so he's going to have a better economic position. And because there's a very quick bunker out of Flash, you know, he's not going to be even or behind the economic curve of the game, which is really great to start things for Snow as well.
It does pick up the SCV there. At least getting rid of that, and checks for the Nexus. Just going to make sure to confirm, you know, nothing crazy is happening here. No two-factory play from Flash. He didn't actually see the Nexus, so can't rule that out here just yet. Pulling some probes to block this Vulture. It's making its way into the front. Dragoon pops out just in the nick of time, so can deny this. And Flash just going to rotate around and out the top. Not going to take any additional damage there. So pretty straight up openers here on both sides. Nobody getting a clear advantage thus far.
Yeah, took a little bit of extra damage on that Dragoon than Snow would have liked. Not just trading the shields, but a little bit of hull HP as well. So that's, I guess, a little bit nice for Flash. But these are like micro things that won't necessarily mean a whole lot. Like, yeah, sure, that Dragoon might die to like one more hit than usual, but it shouldn't come into much of a factor going forward. Especially because it seems like, you know, Flash is playing very standard. Let's see if he could mix it up now, though. He could go for like a 3-factory pressure play or something like that. We'll have to see when he adds on these additional factories. It's very common, though, to stay on 2 factories and then add an additional 3 in a couple of minutes here. I don't think Flash is the kind of guy to do a 3-factory pressure play. I haven't seen that from him a lot. Could be coming out with some tanks and a bunch of Marines now to put the pressure onto Snow, who has stayed on just 1 gateway. This is a little bit greedy from Snow to stay on 1 gateway for so long. Can Flash punish?
Well, there's going to be a Reaver coming out here soon. But there is a little bit of a window here. Snow, 3 Dragoons and a Zealot. He also has high ground, so this high ground is going to help him to make defending a little bit easier, but he's not taking the engage right off the bat, so the tanks do come up onto the high ground, and so they won't be missing any shots. Vultures start to lay the mines, but big surround there from the probes. This is a great probe pull, actually shutting down this push really effectively, and he might be able to jump on the tanks as well. Can he actually get a kill? 1 tank goes down. The shuttle, of course, empty. Moving through the base, just getting the full scout as to what this exactly was from Flash. Flash not looking too happy about how that all went down. Just a great pull and surround from those probes was the ticket there to dealing with that attack.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is, like, going 1 gate for this long is seriously greedy from the Protoss, and the fact that he's getting away with it is kind of insane against the caliber of player that Flash is. He's now going to throw down those additional gateways to be safer against any follow-up pressure from Flash, but the fact that he was able to get this Reaver out off of 1 single gateway means he's very well optimized going forward. And yeah, Snow's put himself into a reasonably comfortable position going forward. Let's see if he can get anything done with this Reaver inside Flash's main. There's no Goliaths this time around. It is going to be turrets, so there is room for Snow to open up the position, maybe pick off a turret, and get some maneuverability available to him inside that main base if he wants to go for it.
Yeah, if there was a game for throughout this whole series where, you know, Snow could actually get a serious amount of damage with the Reaver, it would be this one. He's got to avoid dropping on top of a mine, though. There is a mine here in place. Zealot, drop down first. Make sure to clear out that mine. Triple tank in the main with the Vultures as well. Hard to drop into that position, so Snow will bail out for now.
Yeah, and then Nexus coming down here from Snow in the mineral-only location. Flash throwing down a couple of extra factories. Let's see if he wants to throw down a 5th factory in just a few moments here. We have seen Later go for 4-factory style a lot, but Flash isn't usually that kind of guy. We'll have to see if he wants to copy him or throw down the 5th factory. I think he is more likely to make that 5th factory. Was doing a lot of 6 factories in this series, but Maybe this is the time that he finally goes back to just building 5. I think that will definitely be a good idea from him here. Snow sharking around with this speed shuttle, trying to see if he can find any weakness in the defensive setup here from Flash. So far, though, very tough nut to crack.
Yeah, not really finding anything here just yet, but there is a gap in the turret defense, so he slides back into the mineral line. Ooh. Oh my goodness. The gaping hole in the turret defense of Flash has just been exposed. And dropping the Reaver here in the corner, he's going to be able to get quite a few kills. In fact, getting rid of this turret as well will allow him free reign to roam in and out of this base. Now, oh, okay. Nice. Actually gets a kill on that Vulture as well with the mine. So pretty sick so far from Snow.
Yeah, he's got that sort of 9-minute timing on the Citadel, so leg enhancements won't be too delayed in this game. You kind of need those leg enhancements to kick in, you know, around about that 11-minute 30, 12 minutes at the latest, to be able to shut down the Terran mid-game timing push that will be coming out soon. But Flash still has a window where he might be able to get on top of Snow before that. Ooh, bit of a mine connection, splashing onto those Dragoons. Every little helps with this Terran advance, currently even on supply, favoring Flash. Does have a timing to try and punish Snow here, just before leg enhancements can finally come online and those additional gateways being able to produce a lot of units.
Yeah, I mean, 2 big mine connections, one over to the left side of the middle of the map, and then the other one on a bunch of Dragoons here on the right side. Pretty tempting to try and make a push happen right now when a lot of these are softened up. But he's got to be careful, really has to take it slow here as he pushes forward, not to allow Snow to get massive damage with these Reavers. And, well, that kind of favors Snow, you know. He's going to have to be slow. He loses another tank. Snow is getting the gateways out that he needs, and he's going to have that Zealot speed coming online here before you know it.
Yeah, it's not going to be too much longer for the Zealot speed, but still needs to try and sandbag Flash just a few moments more. It's probably like, you know, 15, 35-ish seconds until that leg enhancements finally finishes up here. But, oh, this is getting dicey. Okay, there's the leg enhancements now. Very nicely timed from Snow. Going to be getting on top of some of these tanks in the front line. Not that many Vultures to screen for the tanks, so just a few Zealots actually doing a lot of heavy lifting. But, you know, Snow doesn't have a crazy amount of army. If Flash is clever about how he advances, he could put a lot of hurt onto Snow, repairing up that tank as he tries to get his feet up onto the high ground location. Snow trying to bat this back as deftly as he can. Does pick off a few tanks, but he's drying up in units. Flash is starting to encroach on this mineral only as more Zealots are popping out.
Oh my goodness, he lost the Reavers so quickly in this fight. Definitely not what we expect from Snow. He's usually able to kind of dance around the Terran army and deny the engagement and the kill on those Reavers for so long that eventually they get the value that they're looking for, but he lost those really quickly. Excellent target fire from Flash, and he's just not able to find the spacing that he needed. There's too many Vultures in here. The drop of Zealots just not really getting the damage that he needs. He's going to drop, I think, another Reaver in the backline here, but it's actually so low right now, dropping it here at the front instead. Going to take one more shot on that tank. He's lost the third base, and he's lost the momentum in this game. Flash is starting to dominate him and continuing to push forward here, threatening the kill now on Snow's natural.
Oh, he has Reaver still. A little bit of a glimmer of hope here for Snow, but it's getting more and more dire as the seconds tick by. Reaver's so close to dying. The Dragoons are pretty much all dried up now. Flash has already done the hard work. He's killed the third base for Snow. Now Snow is just trying to cling on for his tournament life, but it looks very bleak. He's struggling to chew through this Terran metal. Flash is so close to getting Snow to tap out, Saiyan.
Yeah, there's just almost nothing left here for Snow. He's doing absolutely everything he can with every last units that's popping out here. He's trying to get a little bit of a better trade. The Reaver comes out one last time. It takes one final shot. These Reavers, or these tanks, are so darn low. He can just barely not break it. A few more Dragoons pop out, but he actually needed to break this a lot sooner and get out on the map so that he could take another base, and he just hasn't been able to do so. He's being stifled here on 2 bases while Flash bears down on that natural.
Flash taking out an insurance policy, getting the 3rd base on the way just in case he can't clinch out this victory right here and now. Reaver so painfully low. Mine connection picks up the Reaver with the fragmentation grenades on those vultures as well. Not that much Terran left here for Flash, but he has a turret still as well. It's going to be harder and harder to keep challenging this. He sacrifices a shuttle, does kill another tank with the Reaver Scarab connections, but I mean, I don't know. Even if somehow Snow hangs on here, it's going to be hard for him to win a macro game from this no matter what. He is fighting this back, though. I love the fighting spirit of Snow here, not wanting to give up without a serious fight. And yeah, Flash rotates back a bit with these 2 tanks on the high ground. One of these tanks basically one-shot, though. Does manage to get a kill order on that. And looks like Snow barely hanging on by a thread. But, you know, Flash has a 3rd base behind this.
Man, yeah, that 3rd base really does make it difficult for Snow to find any way to come back. He's just got to be regretting that engagement in the middle of the map so much, where he ended up losing his Reavers. He's usually so good with the spacing and preventing the kill on that. Oh my god, he dodges that shot too. That's crazy, Xun. Dodging the hit from that mine on the Reaver and actually getting rid of the mine as well so that he can start to clear out and deal more damage. I mean, he needs so much work to be done by these Reavers inside the main of Flash, and he just doesn't have any HP to do it with. The shuttle is so low, he's got to bail out.
I'm very impressed with Snow, though. Like, in the past, he would get absolutely smashed by Flash. He's taken it to game 5. He's hanging on by a thread. Stargate finishing up, so looks like this could be a bit of a carrier transition from Snow. But is he going to be able to successfully hang on for that long? Like, Flash is going to have these 3 bases set up and a ton of factories behind this as well. It's going to be really tough for Snow, but you kind of have to take a little bit of a gamble to come back in this situation now. Double expanding to the 3 o'clock as well is Snow, trying to stabilize. And, you know, if Flash gives him enough breathing room, Snow could certainly turn this around, but it's not going to be easy. Like, Flash is primed to take this game if he doesn't make any mistakes.
A lot of scans going down. I think there's a good chance that Flash just saw that the carrier transition is underway. He's already moving forward, immediate unsiege, and starts to advance. Reavers here are going to be critical. Once again, he needs amazing connections to try and slow things down. He's probably not even going to be producing carriers during this time, just focusing absolutely everything on building up his Dragoon count and Zealots, getting some more out onto the map. He loses a Reaver already in this engage. He desperately needs the hits of his life, the scarabs of his life, of his career, to shut down Flash here and keep himself alive to make this game work. He loses one of the first Reavers. Great targeting. He doesn't get a shot off with that second Reaver. Disaster there for Snow as he tries to stop this attack, but he's diving forward with the last few remaining Dragoons. One shot from the Reaver. He does hit those front 2 tanks, but his Dragoon force has absolutely vanished in the back line. Nothing left for Snow aside from a single Reaver and a Dream. And that Dream is about to be snuffed out. He dives forward, shoots down the Reaver with the right click from the tanks. That Doom shotgun smashes the Reaver, and GG is called.
Wow.
Snow taps out, and Flash is going to advance to the semifinals.
What a fight, man. That was a crazy series. It almost feels like a best of 7 with how intense this series was. Oh my gosh. And you could see just how much that meant to Flash as he jumped up in his chair as he finally got the 2 letters out from Snow. Really well fought series, though, from our Protoss Snow. Very valiant effort against Flash, taking it to game 5. Managed to win on Polestar. Very tough map for Protoss, but Flash is just too good, it seems. That means we're going to be having Flash going up against Light in the semifinals, and Flash is so damn good in TVT. That's going to be one of the best TVTs we'll see in a very long time, because Light is also a bit of an animal in that matchup. And a best of 7 TVT between gamers of that caliber, it's going to be absolutely fireworks. Getting a bit of a replay now of the relentless pressure from Flash. You can see Snow is pretty much behind in supply more or less the entire time. He's fighting so valiantly. He's keeping Flash back, but behind this, Flash taking a third base, has a great point of transition. So Snow is just fighting to survive, whereas Flash is close to thriving. Kind of an impossible task for Snow to turn things around at this junction. You kind of are relying on your opponent to make mistakes when you're in situations like this, but this is Flash we're talking about. He rarely makes mistakes.
He rarely makes mistakes, and his targeting was so good in this series, man. Every time he had an opportunity to target down a Reaver, he was taking it. Bit of a misstep there from Snow. The pressure is high. He wasn't able to pick up that Reaver as he was retreating. That brings him down to just the 2 Reavers. And then in this engage, he drops the Reavers and can't even get a single shot off. Look at this. No shot there from that Reaver. Second Reaver takes a bunch of damage, gets no Scarab off either. I think that was the moment when Snow finally lost this game, man. He just wasn't able to get the damage that he desperately needed from those Scarabs to turn things around. He's not going to be able to take his revenge here against Flash, and that might have been his last chance. What a heartbreaker for Snow, who's been tormented by Flash throughout the ASL, throughout so many different seasons, has been held back by his Zerg matchup, but he's always been defeated by Flash. All but one series he managed to win in the ASL versus Flash throughout all these seasons. And man, that's gotta be a real tough pill to swallow for Snow right now.
It is, but I mean, there's a bit of a consolation prize, right? This wasn't a totally one-sided affair. He took a couple of games off of Flash, and it actually does massively improve his win rate overall against Flash. Getting those 2 wins, that's just how bad things were in historically between these 2 guys. So that's something, if both of these players kept playing in the circuit for many years, I'm sure Snow would eventually start beating Flash in series like this. He's gotten a lot better. So even though he didn't win against Flash here today, and he might not get another chance to beat him on stage like this, I still feel like he can go home with his head held high. He did play some damn good games today against Flash and made Flash have to really run for his money. And I think that's something that Snow can feel credited for. Like, that's not an easy feat to go toe-to-toe with Flash and kind of go back-to-back in a long series. But now, you kind of have to look at Flash and say, okay, this guy is clearly a tournament favorite going forward into the semifinals. Like, Flash is looking like it's very possible he's going to take down the whole thing.
And what a run it's going to be here. Starting off from the round of 8, he takes on the best Protoss player in the world. Then he's going to be going up against the other strongest Terran player in the world in Light in the semifinals, and then possibly going to face off in the finals versus Soma. Back to back to back, the 3 best players from their respective races. That's an incredible story for a final ASL run, if I've ever heard of one.
Yeah, gonna be a very monstrous run for Flash, and a great way to add more layers of cement to his already established legacy. He would obviously prefer to go out with a bang like that. He's said before that he's showing up to this ASL to win the entire thing. He's not going to be happy with a semifinals position, and then that's it. He wants the whole thing. And I hope he kind of gets there. Like, now that we haven't got Snow, I do really love Soma, and I'm a fan of Later as well. But out of all the players that are remaining, definitely a bit of a Flash favorite from my heart as well. Would love to see him get one more star before he retires as a 5-star general.
Yeah, the 5-star general, the coveted, man. Like, they're gonna have to open up some more space on that arm to maybe he needs another surgery, man. Can put a couple more stars on there.
Just make it
beef
into a
him up a little
circle.
bit. Maybe start to maybe he needs to start, pumping some weights, get that arm a little bit bigger so they can fit a couple more stars on there. I don't know. We'll see if he ends up coming back after this one. He says that he's going to be gone for good, but you never know. Um, he seems to be enjoying himself a lot. It's definitely a challenge to win this season, man. Like everybody is so good right now. He's lost games, he's had struggles, he's doing well, but you can't say that it's boring.
No, I certainly can't say. And, he might be stressing a little bit about a best of 7 against Light. Like, TVT is a matchup that can last the longest if it does get to a split map situation. And if Light is able to take a few games off of Flash and it does go the distance, I'm pretty sure Flash is going to be feeling the pain, both literally and figuratively. That could help Light find a way of securing a victory over Flash. I don't think that it's a sure thing that Flash is going to be in the finals. It's going to be tough to overcome Light. Light is very good at TVT, despite Flash being a god in that matchup. And with the wrist injury, the best of 7 TVT can be a very arduous endeavor. So that's going to be a massive hurdle for Flash going forward.
Yeah, sorry guys, you're going to have to watch another TVT in this season of ASL. Blame the script writers, guys. We didn't plan it this way. Light versus Flash is going to be the second matchup in the semifinals next week, guys. Tune in for Leda versus Soma. That is going to be kind of hype. I imagine that we're going to see a Soma victory there, but Leda has been shockingly good this season, and
Right.
he's been winning games that we never really would have expected in such a interesting way as well, right? Like his style is so well suited for this current meta. It's pretty awesome to see, and I can't wait to find out whether he can, actually take it to Soma and maybe take some games off of him, potentially even make his way to the finals. I mean, I don't even want to say it because I think it's such a low chance. Like I give him like what kind of chance would you say? I'm gonna say like a 20% chance Leda makes it through to the finals, somewhere around there.
Something around there. Yeah, maybe 15 to 20. He has been very surprising, and he is a Wraith specialist, and Wraiths are very good in TVZ. So yeah, maybe he can exploit that against Soma. It certainly won't be easy in any sense of the word, though. I mean, Soma's not only an ASL champion, he's just an absolute godlike Zerg in his own right. I can see Leda performing well during that series, but I'm not really seeing him being able to take down the whole thing, especially because it's a best of 7. It's just crazy. Like, I would be so... I mean, Leda has been shocking already, but I'll be so shocked if Leda is able to win in that kind of a series against such a dominant Zerg. Who knows, though? Leda's already been surprising the entire tournament, not even dropping games, just absolute solid play. And he's going to be on a high from his journey, so we'll be going into it confident as well. We'll have to see. Been a great time being beside you, saying in the casting booth, bringing some great action. And I kind of hope it is going to be a Soma victory, just so that we can avoid too many TVTs in the journey. I'm sure a lot of you guys feel the same. You don't necessarily want to see a TVT semifinals and a finals. So yeah, I can kind of get behind that.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, Xun. Guys, join us for that round of 4 match on Monday. We'll see if the Cinderella story continues or if it ends here. Leda, he's been an underdog all the way through this tournament, but he's never had a challenge this difficult as of yet. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys on Monday.
Thanks so much, guys.